Hi, everyone. This is Katie with Empowering Astrology, and this is your weekly check-in for October 14th through October 20th, 2019. And I, again, continue to enjoy having this time with you, whether it's live or on the replay, because it gives us a chance to, let's say, flesh out some of the astrology that's going on. I know a lot of you sometimes have questions, and this gives me a chance to, let's say, maybe explain things more instead of having to write it out. So, as we start the week, we're coming off of an Aries full moon, and if you missed my full moon report, you can find it on my website, empoweringastrology.com. I also put a link in the show notes, so do check it out. And it was a bit of a, let's say, dramatic full moon. So let's take that apart a little bit, because what, maybe this is a little bit of the behind the scenes, how your astrology sausage gets made. What goes into a full moon that potentially has a ability to provoke and to motivate us, or to kind of create these dramatic situations where we have to act quickly. So we start with this idea that we're having a full moon in Aries. The moon is in Aries, and full moons in general are a time when we see something for what it is, and it's in the light of the full moon. And there's a sense of, having to make a decision because we see something for what it is. Now, when a full moon is in Aries, Aries it's ruled by Mars. It's the first sign of the zodiac. So it's a sign in general that needs to take action. It needs to lead. It needs to have new beginnings, start over. But full moon is, if you think about it, when we are in, let's say, eclipse season, which is also a full moon, a lunar eclipse, is just a full moon that just so happens to fall on the ecliptic. There's like a surge of energy. And so we know that Aries, it's an energy, it's a full moon that's going to really provoke us to take action. Now, on top of that, Mars is in Libra, so we're having this kind of tensions of opposites. We know that this full moon probably is going to put our relationships, all of our relationships, not just our romantic or intimate relationships, but how we socialize and how we connect, going to put that in the spotlight. And then we see that the full moon is making what's called exact square to Pluto in Capricorn. And and then even there's a square to Saturn in Capricorn, is telling me as an astrologer that this is not your ordinary full moon. It's also happening on what's called the nodes. It's making a square to the nodes. So we're getting some eclipse energy. So the moon in Aries can sometimes be very emotional. It's anger or hurts or even frustration that's bubbling to the surface. Now, the full moon with that energy of Pluto in it was also telling us that we were looking at the shadow side of life. Things that have been buried or repressed are now coming up, because Pluto as a planet is what's called one of the outer planets. It's all about getting us to grow and evolve as humans, but it shows us the things that we have not been looking at. It shows us the shadow. It shows us our unconscious. Now, we all are, let's say, a dichotomy of darkness and light. That's just how this world is constructed. And the light part of us is the part that we know. It's conscious. We know that it's there. Now, the part that's unconscious is the part that we can't see. It's our blind spot. It's where impulses are coming from, maybe even childhood trauma, maybe even ancestral trauma, all this stuff that's kind of in our programming that we don't really see. And this is the beauty and sometimes the pain of a Pluto transit or a Pluto energy in a full moon, is that we get a little peek at what we're not seeing in ourselves. And sometimes it means seeing that projection in a partner or a friendship or in a job, etc. So I know that I got some comments from friends and family and even readers where there were some explosive situations because something that had been buried or repressed came up. For me, I've been breaking out in hives for a week a week, because something in me, and I'm, this is me kind of sharing, like, I'm a human being too. And how do I go into this astrology? I see that there's a full moon coming and it's got a little bit of a bite to it. How do I work with that energy? So I know Mars is giving me the courage, Aries is giving me the courage to face something, to look within, to take action. But I might have to look at myself, and I might have to see things that have been previously buried or repressed, or maybe my body, my skin is showing me that it's not happy. It's breaking out in these welts. So that's been my personal work. And, I think this helps me to touch on, let's say again, the reason for empowering astrology. It's like, how do we work with this energy and consciousness? Because we are at a time in human history where we need more consciousness. We need to become more aware of ourselves, how we act, what we say, how we treat each other, and how everything that we do has an impact on the world around us. That's why things are so difficult right now, because we're being challenged energetically to transform, to open up more deeply to ourselves. Just take a quick pause, say hello to those who are watching live. Hello, Brenda. Hello, Christina. Thank you for catching me live. And if you too are on the live, just say hello. Nice to know who's out there. Hi, Jen. Be able to have this time to interact. Like, tell me what's coming up for you. We're about to go into Scorpio season. Venus is in Scorpio right now. So share. Hopefully you feel empowered to share. Hopefully you're not having hives like I am. I have a tendency, when there's strong Pluto energy, to physically transmute emotional things. I've just gone back and it's like, why was I so sick at that time? I'll look and it was a Pluto transit, or there was a full moon on my Pluto. I'm a Pluto in Libra generation. And I'll throw up, sorry, TMI, for a day, or get hives because something deep within is trying to process, and it's doing it on a physical level. Hello, Candace in Maine. Hello, Morgan, Julie, Christy. A lot of self-confidence coming in. That's hopefully self-confidence in the good way, like you're finding it. I mean, I think that's the thing when we have to face ourselves and we see we get that peek into what's in our blind spot, and we're like, ugh, because we see what's in the way of maybe being confident. And this, is maybe a good segue into talking about the client work that I do. I was having this conversation with a client whom I've spoken with a few times at this point, and she's somebody that works with end-of-life care and hospice. And we talked about this idea of being a death doula instead of somebody who's a doula for birth. And what I do, it's like, how do I help assist you, guide you, and to give you the confidence and the empowerment to be able to transform and to step in to this next part of your life? Because we all are working on something. It's just, keep stepping up, and the astrology gives us these very clear guides as to what we're working on, when we're working on it, what's going to push us, what's in our blind spot. So this is the beauty of the astrological chart, when you have that exact birth time, which is the best. I know sometimes, and depending on what country you're born, we don't always have the exact birth time, but it gives you this like instruction manual. It's always said, like, what if you knew that you came into this life with an instruction manual, what would you do with it? That's your chart. I mean, that's really the passion of what I do, because I still consult my own chart. I have my own blind spots looking at my chart, but there's still things that I'm discovering, even 20 odd years of looking at my own natal chart. So I love being able to guide somebody into that process and really understand. I was like, what is the astrology asking you right now? And that's the thing with the Aries full moon. What is the Aries full moon asking us to be right now? Courageous, to kind of set off on a new path, a new beginning, to leave something, but also have to maybe negotiate some things, try to find the best way. Mars is still in Libra right now. Thank you, Rachel, for your comments, and hi, Raquel. Morgan, you're not sleeping good and up every 2 hours. I also kind of woke up in the middle of the night last night. I had a really weird dream where I had like decapitated myself. I remember looking at my head, but like turning it around, and it's like I want to see the back of my head because I can never see the back of my head. And I know that's kind of a weird dream, but Aries in astrology does rule the head, so I thought that was a very interesting manifestation of this Aries full moon. And is facing her fears. Karen asks, what transit or natal position would a death doula have? Jupiter in the 8th. It's funny, Karen, I have Jupiter in the 8th. When I look at a chart and I see people have, let's say, Pluto aspects or 8th house aspects or Scorpio aspects, even 12th house as well. And of course, if you have a strong Pluto in your chart, you have to really work with that Pluto in the highest consciousness, because Pluto can be, in its lowest consciousness, a very powerful and maybe even destructive force. But if you're really have mastered or working with Pluto in a very positive way, you're able to be the person that steps on the threshold between life and death, between different chapters of life, and give people the confidence to be able to step over that threshold. And that's, I think, the beauty of Scorpio energy and being a Scorpio. I always tell people that every sign has something to teach us. And if you are a Scorpio, one of the things that you're teaching people is to not fear death. I know the D word can make people really nervous, but this idea, this energy of death, we face it every day. We face it when the sun goes into Scorpio. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, we see the world starting to decay and to transform and to go into, there's more darkness. We're preparing for winter. It's a natural part of life. And I've also noticed when people have strong Pluto or strong Scorpio in their chart, and they're able to, side note, this is a technical point, Scorpio's 8th house is Gemini. And so I always tell every Scorpio or people with strong Scorpio energy, you have to make a choice. Gemini, it's not a choice. How do you use this very powerful energy? Do you be the textbook jealous, possessive, hot mess Scorpio, or do you do Scorpio in a way that helps people transform, to empower people, to be the person that can stand on the threshold of life and death and have that confidence to do so? So that's a good question, Karen. I think that I could easily speculate what sort of aspects would be, somebody that gravitates towards, let's say, hospice, end of life. We're really going to jump on Scorpio season with this update, or 8th house work. Hi Janet, hi Mom. My mom's on the call. Everybody can say hi to Mom. Julie had her birthday yesterday. I'm glad to hear that you had a very peaceful birthday. This is kind of brings me to a question that I got today on Facebook about, hey, this Aries full moon was actually pretty easy. And I'm like, fantastic. And I think the rest of us who were kind of getting a little rattled by all this lunar energy, we were having a very different experience. Sometimes you don't feel anything. You could look at the actual chart. Maybe this stuff is happening behind the scenes. Maybe it's not hitting anything. I don't know. The thing about full moons and lunar energies in general is it talks about the subconscious experience that's always at play. And then when the moon is a transmitter. This is why full moons, people get a little nutty. It's because the moon is transmitting an archetypical energy on a subconscious level. So this is why the more that we are grounded in ourselves, the more that we know ourselves, the more that we can navigate these kind of the ebbs and the flow with a little bit more stability. You know, because I'm feeling something, it doesn't mean I'm not doing my work, but it means there's things, you know, we all have buttons. You know, we last week we had Mars opposite Chiron. We were really feeling our buttons, or maybe you weren't. But you know, I'm a Scorpio. I was feeling my buttons. So great if you weren't feeling anything. I think the reason I was trying to, you know, put some caution around this full moon, not mean hopefully not be a little bit too you know, worrisome, is just I knew that this full moon was activating eclipse energies. So eclipse energy means that life sort of takes a turn, and maybe quite quickly. You know, maybe there's new opportunities that come in, maybe there's something that leaves. But I think that there's a sense of revelation at this time right now, and even today as we speak, Sun is square Pluto. Whatever has revealed itself, what are you now going to do? How are you going to transform it? You know, Pluto gives us this ability to really, truly, on a soul level, transform something, because Pluto is one of those planets that helps us connect to the soul and the soul's journey and the different kind of facets of the soul's experience through many different lifetimes. So the more that we work on ourselves, the more that we deepen ourselves, the more that we start to have a very different relationship with the astrological energies around us. That's the goal. So I'm just checking in with the comments. Hello, Nikki. Hello, Joanna. So, you know, just very quick recap on where this Aries full moon was activating you. You know, keep this in mind for Sun and rising. So if you are an Aries, you were in the spotlight. You know, you might have definitely felt this energy to do something new, to be motivated to take action, or maybe you were feeling very restless or even irritable. Had a conversation with a good Aries friend of mine. Taurus, this was about letting things go, endings, also doing your spiritual work. So that's what the spotlight was on. Gemini, this was about friendships, community, kind of these bigger social connections. What's after? Cancer, this was about career. You know, what's your direction? You know, what are your ambitions, and you know, what sort of role do you play in the world? You might have seen some changes around your job. Leo, this is about, what do you believe in? What's, you know, what goes into your philosophy? How's your worldview? You may even be traveling or looking at education. Virgo, this is about really looking at your deepest parts of yourself. This means facing your fears. This means looking at different emotions that are coming up, maybe things that have been previously buried. There's a sense of having to, let's say, deal with the psychological side of life. Also themes of intimacy, power, control, and vulnerability. If you are a Libra, this full moon was in relationships. So you may have had to make a decision about a relationship. What's the connection? How is it going? Do you stay connected or do you separate? Or if you are not in a relationship, you might feel very motivated to get into a relationship or to make connection. Scorpio, this is about health of the body. Like I said, totally broke out in hives with the full moon. How you take care of the body, also work and projects. Sagittarius, this was about the self, identity, creativity, even romance. So maybe you're kind of feeling like you want to date, or you want to, you know, be more creative, or even children might have been highlighted as well. Capricorn. So Capricorn, this was about home and family, roots, foundation in your living situation. Maybe you have a big move planned or doing some big things at home. Aquarius, this is about your voice. You know, how are you speaking up, sharing your voice, writing, communication, but also, you know, maybe having to make some serious choices. Pisces, this was about money, how you earn it, how you spend it, how you value it, and the material things that you need. And also this more of a less tangible idea of stability and value, and feeling like life is pretty even keel. So that's so you guys know where oh, thanks Lori for you. Scorpio, definitely Scorpio and Aries rising, definitely Aries, Joanna. Yeah, you had surgery on Friday. Well, Mars is definitely surgery. I was definitely hearing a lot about surgery as well. I was hearing about people, dying in hospice. I was hearing about surgeries. I was hearing about accidents, and so I was hearing about a lot of major things going on with this full moon. So hope everybody is okay. So what can we expect this week? So we start the week with this what's called Sun Pluto square, and I was talking earlier, if you're just joining, this idea that when the astrology touches on Pluto, it means we need to look at our blind spots, the things that we do not want to look at about ourselves, anything that is hidden or repressed. It even could be issues around power, control, abuse, shame, deeper emotions. But when we look at that stuff, we are able to transform it, transmute it. This idea that Pluto helps us to turn lead into gold, so to speak. It really does help us to transform deeper emotions into something much lighter. So this is going to continue a little bit into the week. We may feel some reverberations from the full moon. The conventional wisdom is that the full moon energies are kind of active, 2 to 3 days on either side of the full moon. And something that somebody asked me on Facebook, it was the birthday, and like, what does this mean? If you have a full moon on your birthday, it's probably going to be a very dynamic coming year. To a similar question, what does it mean when you have a new moon on your birthday? It means that the coming year is about new beginnings. Now, if you have let's say a solar eclipse on your birthday, it's a big new beginning. And if it's some lunar eclipse, something about the coming year might be very different than the year before. So that's to the question that was asked earlier. Mostly this week is somewhat quiet. I mean, we are wrapping up Libra season this week and into the beginning of next week, which means that we're still on the hook in our relationships, which means we need to be very conscientious about how we're interacting with people. All people, of course, not just our romantic partnerships. Venus is in Scorpio right now, so it's a Libra season where we have to be vulnerable. We have to open up. We have to reach out to people, and we have to say what we need. I think that there's a sense of formality and nicety with Libra. Nobody wants to kind of upset the apple cart, so to speak, but Scorpio is the opposite. It wants to really get to the heart of what's wrong. So especially with Mercury also in Scorpio, I think it's still a week to have some really revealing conversations, whether it's with a friend, a spouse, a therapist. Just let it all out. Don't do what I do and have to break out in hives in order to process emotions. That's not good. But for this week, I mean, there's not a lot of big aspects. I will say that Mars in Libra is starting to come up to some eclipse degrees, and it's starting to make what's called a square to the nodes going into next week. So we might still be kind of seeing some of that eclipse energy going into next week. Just putting that on your radar. And I will say that this full moon was at 20 degrees of Aries, which is the same degree as the upcoming lunar eclipse on January 10th. There's going to be a lunar eclipse at 20 Cancer on January 10th, 2020. So be mindful about what's coming up this week. Thematically, journal, write things down, go back, because astrology just talks about time and kind of these interlacing, interweavings of time, and how things will kind of pop up thematically. This is why it's so beautiful when you have your astrology chart. Shameless plug, work with an astrologer, so you can understand, what is it are those things that are going to keep coming up, so that you can work on them, putting light on them, so you can grow, evolve, and transform in this life. And that's the whole point of what I do. Speaking of which, I'm going to be doing a webinar on Chiron, and I did speak about Chiron last week in my update, because we had some Chiron aspects. Chiron is a modern addition to astrology. It's a planet that was discovered in 1977. It's actually not really a planet. It's kind of a comet thing, hybrid thing. But it's a powerful point in the chart. It does talk about an area that needs a lot of, let's say, tender loving care in this life. We're working to transmute, transform that sort of root pain and suffering that keeps getting hit depending on where our Chiron is. But the symbol for Chiron is actually a key. And I believe that when we work on our Chiron, and when we connect it to this collective experience around a very personal story, we're able to, let's say, unlock a higher expression of our chart. We're able to empower others with, if you're Chiron in Taurus, for example, that root suffering on worth and self-worth and value. So that's something that the more that you work on that, and the more that you share your triumphs, you're able to also empower others with your work. Rachel asks, is Mercury retrograde? Not yet. It will turn retrograde on October 31st. It's a very happy Halloween, Mercury retrograde. So yeah, we're in the gate for Mercury retrograde. I just tell people, just be very mindful. I'm typically not somebody that gets very, oh my God, it's Mercury retrograde. Mercury turns retrograde 3 to 4 times out of the year. It spends 3 weeks retrograde. It is a time for us to naturally slow down, process, integrate, look at our choices. Do we need to make new choices? And then when Mercury goes direct, we kind of move forward again. It's just the natural ebb and flow of life, the natural yin and yang energies of creation. So it's not anything to freak out about. I typically say don't make any massive decisions during Mercury retrograde, because it is a time to reflect. Don't buy computers. I mean, I say just don't risk anything if you can, but life has to go on. We can't stop our lives 3 times to 4 times a year for 3 weeks at a time. I mean, we don't have that luxury. But it's just a reminder that we can't always live in our ego. So we have to take a step back when we have to reflect. So I think I was starting to talk about Chiron. I am teaching a webinar on October 26th on Chiron, because I think it's a really important point in the chart for us to understand this kind of story around healing that we keep coming back to. So details are in the show notes, and I'm going to be doing a webinar on the 28th of October. This one's on, to give everybody a sneak preview on November's astrology. I did this last month with October. I'm doing a little bit before the beginning of the month, so we can all, for those who want to have a jump start on November, you can get all the details. It's a little bit of an experiment. I'll see what people's interest is going into the new year, and then we'll reevaluate. But I think it's a really great way for us to kind of plan and organize ourselves for the coming month. So that's pretty much it, guys. Unless you have any questions, make sure you sign up for my newsletter. The link is in the show notes. You can also follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Facebook if you don't already. And for those who are catching the replay, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, thank you. It's always a pleasure to have an opportunity to have this FaceTime, to talk more about what I do, to talk more about the astrology, and get us all prepared for the week ahead. So I know that this full moon for many people, not all, but for many people was a little bit of a rocky road. So just make sure you're taking care of yourself this week. We've got some what are called sextiles throughout the week. Those are, we don't talk about them just because they're very quiet, but they're nice when we just need to kind of have things a little bit more easy and chill. So until next week, it's always a pleasure. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Siobhan and Karen and everybody else who have been watching. And till next time, bye.